Microdose, yeah. Microdose. Microdose. Microdose, dose. Microdose. Microdose, dose. Microdose. Microdose, dose.
What's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here. Happy New Year edition. Guys, 2023. You know, it just doesn't run off the tongue as well as 2022, 2021, 2020, even 19. Like 2023 feels like a mouthful of words here. However, we take one step forward, we take one step backward. Last year, we started off the year with COVID. This year, we start off the year with a broken toe. We also start off with a return guest. He's been a guest of the Microdose before. He was here exactly 50 weeks ago. Sean Thompson, what's good, yo? How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, buddy. Last time you and I talked, I was just getting out of my little COVID quarantine. This year, I somehow broke my goddamn toe. I know how it happened. I don't know why it happened, but carpet in the house is like over 30 years old, and this one part of the steps, like I slip on this step not all the time, but quite a bit often. I'm only thankful I didn't drive my knee into the stairs, which has happened before. But this time, like, I don't know, man. Like, it feels like I tried to judo kick the floor with my toe. So like the weight of my bed sheet, not layers of blankets, not a pillow. The bed sheet was just like, oh my God, this is agony. What the, like, maybe I need to see a doctor right now. Oh, holy cow. No, thanks to the makers of Aleve, we're okay. We're not going to try tap dancing today, but we're much better than we were 36 hours ago.
Is Aleve a new sponsor?
No, but I wish they were.
break your toe, pop to Aleve, you'll be good to go.
This is right up there with, like, how'd you hurt your back, Kush? I rolled out of bed and I stretched, and then I went, ah! This is on that same level of stupidity.
I get that at the gym. I'll talk to some of the guys. One guy I talked to when I go into train, and how you feeling? I'm like, this is sore today. What'd you do? I slept. Like, I don't know. I went to bed. I felt fine. I woke up. Things were hurting. Just getting to that age.
I just slept. The neck was just angled at the wrong. It didn't feel like anything was bad was happening, but yeah, you woke up and be like, oh no. Also, why is my neck at a 45-degree angle? What the fuck? Like, this ain't. Who am I, Michael Keaton's Batman? I can't move my neck. Like, this is terrible.
Thank you for having me on again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming back, dude. I think the show that you and I had at the top of the year is one of the most interesting shows I did in all of 2022. You know, we explored it's one of the more serious episodes. We explored some unfamiliar territory with the Microdose listeners. And how overall, dude, how was your 2022?
I will keep it 100% real. And 2022 was probably the hardest year of my entire life.
Wow. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. And I don't know if we talked about it at all last year on it, but I've been dealing with a work injury.
Yes.
Battling PTSD for about 16 months now. 16 months of being at home and
okay.
Dealing with treatment. I think when we talked, my treatment had been stopped. So I had a big gap of about 6 months where I wasn't able to get treatment. And it was rough. We moved. It's all going to sound dark in a really rough year and really lows to the year ended with some really big positives. And I feel like the direction is, moving in the right direction. So I everything happens for a reason. So I'm not complaining. Just, it is what it is. We moved in March. We moved to Idaho and love it out here. The house, we're building a house. House was supposed to be built April or May, and we are in January of 23, and we're still in the building process. So
that's still exciting though. I've never been to Idaho, just to sidetrack for a second, but like, I imagine you've been out to eat, you've been to all the restaurants. Like, how much of the menus is just potato combo?
So So there's a lot of potato. There's like potato chocolate and like potato candy.
Yeah. Oh wow, potato candy. I don't know about that.
It's weird. But the interesting thing. So we're we're a little west of Boise, about 30 minutes west in a small town. There's not much in this town, but especially when you get to Boise's big city. Big city. It's about 300,000 now, I think. Food scene is really, really good because you've had a lot of people. I think that's one of the things, people migrating from like California has been a big growth in the food scene.
Okay.
So there's some really, really good places. There's one now I can't remember the name, but it's the best chicken and waffles I've ever had in my life.
You might want to learn
fantastic.
that name then. Okay. You have my attention with chicken and waffles.
They had it was I know we're going off on a tangent, but it was like
All right.
the one my wife gets is like waffles with it was like a sriracha chicken. So there's like a little bit of sriracha honey or something, a little bit of kick, but not too much, and it's good. But and to be honest, there's not a heavy emphasis on potato.
Okay.
Like,
are they just like
it's
over
not
it?
I mean, sort of like New Year's, they do the potato drop in the Capitol. They, instead of like the big ball in Times Square, it's a massive potato, and they do a potato drop.
I can see that being fun.
Like,
so you said there seems to be like a big influx of California residents migrating over there. Is there some sort of tech industry over there, or like what job industry is everyone going from California to Idaho for?
Like, I think my wife was saying something like 70% of the economy is small business.
Okay.
I watched a report of a guy who started a business out here during the winter. He sells snowmen. He builds and delivers it was like 50 or $75 a pop, like actual full-size snowmen, and people buy them, and he goes to their house and he sets up the snowmen in their front yard and decorates them, and that's a thing. So that's
where's he getting all the snow from? I mean, obviously it sounds like it's snowing a lot, but even that's finite. Like, you're only going to get so much snow a day.
Right. I was wondering that too, because my understanding this year snow is up something like 200% from, I mean, out where you're at, all the storms and the rain have been ridiculous. And out here we've just gotten snow, and it's snow.
And this is me like thinking he's making like at most 6 a day. All right, like this guy ain't dropping off dozens all day long. Like, it would be amazing if he was. Like, actually, Kush, this guy's going by hundreds. Like,
yeah. So there's a bunch of small stuff. I think is the housing was a big housing was a lot less expensive. It's more laid back. It's quiet. Like, I hate to say it. It's like the cliche. People generally, I've lived in California, Northern California for 37 years. And just overall, like, people were more friendly. Okay. And it took me there was like an adjustment period of, like, the first time we came out, we went on a hike, and I think like 10 or 12 people stopped us to say hi on the hike. And I'm looking at them like, what the hell are you talking to me for? Like, I don't know you.
I get it.
And my wife's like, just be nice. I was like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, right. Like, you're expecting to hit you up for like, how much do you need? Like, I'm sorry, I don't have $5. Like, that's normal what you get stopped for in California.
Exactly. But it's
it's nice.
The job industry is booming out here.
Okay.
Hell, even fast food restaurants out here paying $16 an hour at McDonald's, which is nothing I saw when I was a kid. So
when I was a kid, I had a job that paid me $5, and I thought I was so slick because I was getting over on the boss because minimum wage is $4.25. I was like, yeah.
My first actual paycheck was $3.25 an hour.
Wow.
and now you're seeing people start at the. Man, I remember trying to get a raise at a place when I was 18, 19, I was making $10 an hour, and I asked for a raise, and they're like, we got 25 cents. And I'm like, all right, I guess that's what I get.
Yeah, and you were excited for that quarter. You're like, this is like, you start doing the math at home on your little peachy folder. You're like, oh, yeah, like, oh my, we're gonna make a whole $13 a week more. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Real
so
quick to sidetrack.
Yeah, sidetrack.
You, before we go into this, because I didn't give you my reaction, but I cannot wait for Evil Dead Rise.
Okay, yeah. The last time you were on the show, you were saying Army of Darkness is your favoriteest movie ever. So
yep.
Did you watch the Ash vs. Evil Dead? Did you watch Evil Dead, the 2013, whatever that thing was? Let's get into some Sam Raimi talk.
I did. I watched the 2013. I actually tried watching it again during Halloween time. I fell asleep, not because it was bad, but just because I'm old and I fell asleep.
Yeah, I get that too.
I liked it. But I didn't really have any complaints. I did watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. I watched some of it. I started the first season, and then I think it was on Netflix.
I think it's still on Netflix.
Yeah, we don't have Netflix anymore, so I didn't
dig it.
And I know there's video. I think I have the first season. I think I have 1 or 2 seasons on DVD, but all my stuff's in storage. So
okay, dig it. I saw the first episode of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and I had 2 reactions to it. I never went back after. I didn't go back for episode 2, by the way. But my first impression was like, oh shit, this is Evil Dead the TV show. And then I went, oh shit, this is Evil Dead the TV show. And maybe those reactions were flipped backwards, because like the show starts off with Ash butt fucking some chick in the back of a trailer, and I was like, oh, I guess, all right, I guess we got to go there. It's cable channel, blah 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 blah, or whatever. But then, like, like there's like some horrific scenes there, like going back to, and Sam Raimi directed the episode, so Sam Raimi's got the old angles on it and there's quick zoom ins, and you're like, oh fuck, like this is what I signed up for. And I'm surprised it went 3 seasons, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one that didn't. I'll give it a go and finish it. It's one that I never was like, it'd be really cool, an Evil Dead TV show.
I bet
I just didn't need it. I love, but
yeah, it's definitely a fan favorite. Like people loved it. Some folks liked it, but most folks loved it. When we got to the 2013 movie, I thought, like, this isn't bad, but it's definitely going out of its way to be over gratuitous, where the first movie didn't have the money for it, but it's also definitely trying to avoid those things that the original movie had, like the tree love scene, that's still a horrific scene for its 3 seconds. There's nothing memorable about that movie to me, though, other than like, okay, there's a scene where it's raining blood and Demon Lady doesn't have a butt crack. I don't know why they made that choice. It's an R-rated movie. It's a hard R-rated movie, to the point where like some chick is cutting her tongue in half with a box cutter. Like I'm just like, this isn't scary. This is just weird.
Gore.
Yeah. It had a moment where, like the main character, she's like a heroin junkie, she's an addict. And that's where like things could have been very compelling and like, oh my God, is this a hallucination? Is this withdrawals? Oh, or is this just a demon attacking me? And it didn't. Should have done more with that. That's my critique of Evil Dead 2013. But this new one, it's different. It looks different. It's not Army of Darkness. It's definitely not Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Looks like it's trying to be somewhere between that first Evil Dead and the one we got in 2013. And Poltergeist 2, which I know you were like, what? Like, yeah. It just means it's in a high rise. That's all. Same movie. It's now in a high rise.
The only critique I have from the trailer is I thought we were past the possessed woman crawling up and down the walls like a spider thing.
Never get over that. We'll never get past that.
I thought I thought we were done with that back in 2013, 2012, but apparently it's still prevalent and popular. So I'll watch
There
it.
was
I
a
mean,
possession movie last Halloween, Pray for the Devil. The trailer looked interesting. I somehow never got to see it. Probably will still never see it. But no, lady crawling up the walls, like totally a thing. Ari Aster's Hereditary. Lady whose name is escaping me, but has been in so much great stuff. You know, there's no real rhyme or reason. She's kind of just crazy, not necessarily possessed, but lady crawling on the ceiling over son's bed. You know, like it's.
yeah.
So, did you ever
Pretty
get
excited,
into the Ash versus Jason versus Freddy comic book series?
never a comic guy, but I was dying to have that made into a movie. I would watch that movie 8 days a week. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care. I don't care if it was Jason X with Ash and Freddy in it. What was the one with him in space?
Jason X.
Was that Jason X? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All for it. I'll watch it. I don't care.
I love Jason X. Go on the YouTube. There's plenty of guys some guys are just as basic as like just taking snapshots of the comic book page. Maybe they've edited out the word bubbles because of plagiarism stuff. But then there are guys who like do the full motion comic and they add sound effects and everything. Like the Ash versus Jason versus Freddy comic series, which they were trying to have a movie made after Freddy versus Jason. Takes the lore to a whole different thing. You're getting a lot of Evil Dead references, but like, were you ever a fan of Friday the 13th? Like,
oh yeah,
Tommy Jarvis just shows up out of nowhere and just like, I heard y'all need my help, and I'm here to kick some ass. Like, it got a second series where Freddy somehow possesses the president of the United States of America. And you're just like, okay, this is the thing we're doing. Let's go with it. Tommy Jarvis, what you got up your sleeves? Like, this is how we're going to take care of President Freddy.
with the last 3 or 4 years, you never know what could happen.
You never know what will happen.
And then the last one, did you see the trailer for Cocaine Bear?
Oh, I'm all over Cocaine Bear, dude. Cocaine Bear is only the second movie I'm looking forward to. The first movie is I'm going to see it tonight after we record this. Megan, Killer Doll movie. I don't know why.
Okay.
Like the trailer is delightful. It's it's like what if Annabelle and Chucky had a child, and you'd be like, well, they already did that Child's Play movie, but with so and so. Like, no,
Yeah.
This is a different thing, and it's a Blumhouse thing, and they're usually pretty good about what they do with their films. So, yeah. But Cocaine Bear, I described it to a friend the other day, and he hasn't even seen the trailer, but he lost his mind. I was like, we have to see that. Just like, yeah. Some drug dealers in the 80s lost a bunch of cocaine, and this bear just ate a brick of it and murdered everybody. True story.
Yep. I'm all in. Say I was all in when I heard the title of it. I didn't even need to see the trailer. I was like, I'm gonna see this.
I'm one of those dudes who follows the industry notes and all that, so I get all the press releases whether I want them or not. And I was just like, when I just saw the synopsis, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Why wouldn't we watch that? But now it's all a bonus. Now there is a trailer. Now you've seen what it could possibly be, and it's definitely tongue in cheek. But then you get the bonus of like, this is Ray Liotta's last movie. What?
Yeah.
Now we're obliged to see this, and it still looks good.
Oh man.
I was in a position where I saw Avatar 2 a couple weeks ago, and it felt like an obligation. It's still a good movie. Like, I'm not trying to hate on it or be a naysayer or cynical, but I'm also like, we could have got this movie 15 years ago, and then you could just, when we need the 4K restoration, then you give us that. Like, we didn't.
Yeah.
Imagine waiting 15 years for Gears of War because it was like, it needs to look the best it will. You're like, no. There's been like 30 Marvel movies, and they all get visually just a little bit better. It's not all of them, but most of them. Like, we get to be on Avatar 5 today, and that would look the best it would look.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet. To be honest, I still haven't watched the first one all the way through.
Oh,
so
I would just run with that then, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a dude who likes visual movies, and by the way, my name is Kush Hayes. I smoke a lot of weed. How you doing? But so like I'm all about bright colors and flashing lights, and like, you know, there's a melody in the background that makes me, oh, wish life was like this too, you know. But it's there's a lot of hype too. Again, Avatar 2 would have been a great movie in 2015 also.
Yeah.
Let's get into some serious stuff here. Then we can always sidetrack and have fun and laugh and giggle. That's always what's what. I've been so my 2022, I wouldn't say it was the hardest year I've ever had, but it was one of the more complicated years for sure. When we spoke again, just getting off of the COVID virus, and you know, it was what it was, but we ultimately survived, and we were never in fear of like losing our life. But then there was another like 5 months of just nothing added on the last 2 years of nothing for me. Like, again, the first 2 years of COVID, I maybe worked 6 days, all 2 years combined. And then thankfully, the Golden State Warriors got back into the postseason, and that's always been a thing for me. As long as they're in the finals or whatever, I'm usually there. In fact, I've always been there the last now 6 times. But it's like, okay, well, if they get to the finals, once the finals are done, then it'll be a bunch of nothing for like 2 to 3 months. And it wasn't. Like, we literally started working consistently, like more than we were working pre-pandemic in this specific industry, I should say. And it was great, but it was still taxing to the point where like, oh great, now they're giving me the option to like book my dates out 3 months ahead. Like, we should book a day off for rest there, and we should book a day off for rest there, and we should book a day off for rest there, which was quite a unique position to be in. I've never been in that. It was great. In fact, it was like, yeah, we're not working Christmas, and we're not working New Year's Eve, and we're taking Thanksgiving off too. Fuck y'all. Because I would say worst day I've had this year. A friend of mine passed away, and we knew it was coming. In fact, before Thanksgiving, it looked like it was absolutely happening, and then he had one more card up his sleeve, but just it wasn't a strong enough deck, I guess, because I was working the Warriors Boston game. It was 2 hours into my shift, got the text, and it's like, fuck. Weird situation, Sean Thompson. I was relieved that I was actually at work. I gave myself 10 minutes to cry in a bathroom, and then I had to finish out the rest of my 14-hour day that day and fight off tears or whatever. But I knew that if I was just at home with the day off, I would have crawled into a bottle and not looked back the rest of the day. And I was like, that was 10 in the morning, by the way, when that thought came to me. Yeah.
There's something to be said about work, right? Like we hate going to work and don't like a job.
No, I'm going to stop you there. No one's afraid of work, but everyone hates a job, and I don't have that situation. So,
well, every once in a while, you like, even if you love your job, there's just those days sometimes where you're like, it's a long day, I'm tired, but it's a good distraction. The problem is, like, for that moment, it was probably really good for you. Again, keeping you recognizing and going, hey, if I'm at home, I probably would have just been sitting here with a bottle and dealing with it that way. And you have that distraction of work. That's good. The hardest part is like finding that way and that time to actually deal with the problem, you know, like deal with the emotion and not, it's really easy to, for me, it's how I got in the position I was in is, you know, it's really easy to push stuff aside and not deal with trauma, not deal with hardship. And you just kind of, we're guys. It's, you know, that whole like man up mentality, and I just got to suck it up and deal with it. And it works a couple times until the analogy that's used a lot of time is it's like having a cup, and every incident, every, you know, hardship is, you know, dropping the cup. And then all of a sudden your cup is full and you got no more room in that cup. So it's finding that way to pour out a little bit of that cup before it overflows, to, you know, keep yourself balanced. You said you when we were talking before, you said your friend had a kid.
Yes. Yeah. 7-year-old. He at least had one more Thanksgiving with his dad, but Christmas and now New Year's was a little different from him.
And how's the son doing?
I mean, he's surrounded by loved ones, so I imagine he's doing well. But yeah, it's just. But that was hard too.
Dealing with it now.
So the first couple of weeks, man, there was, you know, lots of just, you know, lots of sadness and spontaneous crying. You know, we're still in therapy, so we had someone to go through all this as it happened, you know, and like when it happened, like I even like just booked myself an impromptu meeting like that. I was like, yo, can you meet me today? A, B, and C just happened. And thankfully she was able to. We got home from that first night of work and we still had to be back at the arena at 8 a.m. the next morning and do it all over again. So, you know, I did drink. I did what he would want me to do, and that was listen to the Wu-Tang Clan and watch the Raid Redemption, you know, and try to make that work. And, you know, that was surprisingly still hard. But now the holidays have passed, and, you know, it's settled in, and we are definitely still sad. And it's a weird sensation because just 1 year prior, you and I know a promoter in the NorCal pro wrestling industry, and maybe you didn't know him that well, but this gentleman passed away around Christmas, and I was like, oh, that's so sad. This is the guy who gave me my break in pro wrestling, you know. And I was like, well, I didn't hear anything about a funeral, but there was going to be a memorial show, and I was like, I need to be a part of that. I need to go there, just even to spectate. And I didn't make it to that. Like, I literally spaced on it, and as embarrassed as I was about, like, it's still a different sensation from what this is. Like, this was one of my best friends. You know, like, I've known this dude since high school, and while we didn't go to the same high school, like, we had that bond there. So
I haven't lost, thankfully, too many, but I've had a couple, and just sporadic ones, and you'll still get those moments of. And I remember I was supposed to go visit a friend down in Southern California for Thanksgiving one year, and we're going down to visit, and I talked to him, and then like 3 days later, I find out that he just died. And
wow,
we didn't have any mutual friends. We met, you know, from he was close friends with a band that, you know, saw a bunch and hung out with, and got to know him, and we became close, and never found out what it was. But he just passed, and it was, every once in a while you still get those, like, you try to honor them, like you're saying, what, listening to Wu-Tang and watching the Raid is, you'll probably get those every time you hear Wu-Tang. You'll get that little, like, that, you know, little memories coming back, and
which is weird, like, because the Wu-Tang is just so aggressive.
Yeah. I get that around the holidays every year. We have a drink was Tuwaka. Most people don't know what it is. It's like a orange vanilla liqueur, and every year around the holidays, it's delicious. It's terrible because it tastes so good. Every year around Christmas, I would get a bottle and, you know, have that for the holiday, and enjoy it. And I remember a couple years after we go down to LA to visit another friend's family, and end up having a shot. And man, it was something about being in that same area and the same drink. And I lost it. I was at the bar with my wife and her best friend and my best friend. And they're like, dude, you just cried for 20 minutes.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a weird thing, but it's just, I try to tell my wife it's like to normalize those things, right? There's nothing, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong to have those emotions, to to cry, to to feel those. In January last year, I did a 5-day intensive, like live-in therapy, a retreat they call it, but it is 5 days of therapy for 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day, like long days. And and you're with, first day you go in and I don't know anybody, and there's probably 30 people there. There's 6 of us that were there as like clients, and then the rest were staff and people who were there as peers and people who've been there before. And you're there for 10 minutes, and next thing you know, like I'm crying talking about my dog that I had to put down 4 years ago. But I've grown from that experience to learn that it's okay to to feel those things. It's okay to have those emotions. It's okay to let those go. And the best thing to do is, especially like if you're at therapy or you're talking to somebody, and I recommend if you're talking to somebody, kind of let them like if I'm talking to my wife or my best friend, it's like I give them kind of a heads up, like, hey, I'm gonna go heavy. Like, I have to kind of vent, get this off. And then whatever you're gonna feel, really hard at first, but whatever you're gonna feel, just feel it. And your body's gonna tell you what it needs. And if you gotta cry, let it happen. Like it's like there's like a chemical thing that like it's like a release. It's like you're talking about these things, and it's flushing it out of your system, and it's letting it go, and it's part of the healing process. And we're so used to this, like, I can't cry in front of people, and I would do it with my therapist still all the time, is I would feel it coming on, and I would just like pause and like try to get myself collect my composure, and then I'd have to tell myself, no, it's fine, just do what you got to do, like let it happen.
I've only tried to collect my composure when I need to keep the sentence going. I need to, like, I can't just finish in the middle of my explanation and start crying. I got to finish the speech. Moving away from grief, there was a time in 2022 during work where like I had to like sustain my tears, but they were also like tears of joy, or like I don't know what they were, but I was definitely wildly overcome. So dig this, dude. Like, I'm like I just explained earlier, like I'm a part of a lot of live sports events. So for whatever reason, I'm now on Oracle Park's baseball field for the San Francisco Giants, and Hunter Pence is being inducted into his Hall of Fame. And I'm like, yeah, you guy's a badass baseball player. I'm also sharing the same field with Will Clark, Orlando Cepeda, Barry Bonds, and the first baseball card I ever had, which is Jeff Leonard. And like, like there's a little tear shedding, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I think Will Clark is watching me cry. I need to. I was like, did I just die and go to Valhalla? What the fuck, man? Like, this is the greatest day of my life so far. Like, I definitely appreciate those experiences way more than, like, I just lost my best friend.
Well, that's the emotional change with stuff like that. It's one of those symptoms of like PTSD.
Sure.
Are you overly emotional? Are you less emotional? I've had both of those, and trying to figure out how to balance those. Dude, my daughter's almost 2. I'll sit down with her. She loves to watch the same movies. She's watching what is she stuck on now? Frozen. I know it's a little bit older. Coco. Man, I can't tell you how many times I've cried watching Coco.
Oh, really?
every damn time she watches that movie. And like, so she watches, we'll watch part of a movie before, like an hour before she goes to bed. And Coco, Encanto, and I even do it with Moana. Moana's probably next to Lion King. Moana is one of my favorite Disney movies. But it, man, every time. I just get that stupid Disney songs that are all fucking emotional and make you feel about grandmas that have died. And sometimes I get that with music. I'll be driving by myself, and song will come on. It'll just be a song from, I don't know, like a rock song that I loved listening to back in 2011, and just singing in the car, and next thing I know, it's not a sad song. I'm choked up, and it's a weird, but it's part of that. Just when we go through trauma and go through traumatic experiences, and we don't deal with them. I say appropriately or at all, and we just bottle it up, and then it manifests in these weird places that we don't expect them, and it pops up in places that you don't think it will. Like, oh, I'm petting my dog, now I'm crying because my dog's super happy. I don't know why the hell this is happening. Well, because you have some underlying trauma that might have involved your pet as a kid. Like, it's really weird how there's a book, I'm gonna butcher the name, The Body Keeps Score, I think is the name of the book.
I mentioned that the last episode.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just about how I got to finish it, but about how your body just remembers trauma, and you might think it's gone, but there's parts of the brain where it's still sitting in there, just waiting for it to come back out.
I'm in this weird position in my life. I don't even know if it's just an age thing. I think it's just a me thing, where I used to love video games. I only have a PlayStation 4. I've had that for at least over 5 years. Right over here is my rock band guitar. And while I was obsessed with that game for like 18 months, it's hard to go back to for whatever reason. And then I've tried other games. They're whatever. I'm also in a position where, like, because of former roommates and then because of terrible neighbors, I was like, I need to just keep the TV on all night. Otherwise, the assholes across the yard or down the hall are just going to wake me up. And I still get woken up. It's not, definitely not sustainable sleep, but there's still that, like, boundary I have where, it would be nice to probably sleep without the TV, but then guess what? New Year's Day, 5 a.m. Someone went like I understood when it was 2 a.m., but for some reason 5 a.m. someone in my backyard had to go, let's set off all these mortars real quickly. Poo, 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 poo. Like, my God. Are we under fire? Does Russia have the bomb? What's going on?
You ever try white noise?
This is my white noise. Is listening to my favorite YouTube channel in the background and hoping Rich Evans doesn't scream, "Oh my God!" at a very high frequency, which even at a 6 is strong, overwhelming enough to wake you up. So, speaking of music, what is some motivational music for you, Sean? Like, maybe it's for the gym. Maybe it's for a podcast that you're not doing. Maybe it's just, like, what are your go-to songs that, like, this is the mood I need to be in this moment?
So I'm a big music guy. And I listen to, obviously, gangster rap. I listen to classic rock. I listen to country. I listen to some pop. I got just about everything. And one thing, it's weird. I have a hard time. Like, my wife will do it. She just puts on music to have it in the background.
Yeah.
I put on music and I have to listen to the lyrics. Like, I process the lyrics. So I'll have songs. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like bands or songs that it might be a hard rock. 12 Stones is one of my favorite bands. And it's like, it's rock, but the message behind the song is like an emotional message. Bullet for My Valentine, one of my favorite. There's a song that, again,
As a
my
band,
mind
right?
sucks. Yeah, they're a metal band out of Wales.
I've recognized their posters
And
because of that name.
I saw them like 3 times, I think, at the Warfield.
Word.
Good, good show. Have a song that's good metal song, but the whole premise of the song is the singer had like some throat, some injury, and the doctor told him, you're never going to sing again. And so the whole song is and now he doesn't do the screaming, he does like the melody stuff, and then I think it was their bassist would do all like the screaming when those were parts of the song. But the whole thing was like the internal struggle he was going through about, like, I'm being told I'll never do the thing that I love ever again. And it's just that, and it's, a lot of it's like metaphorical, right? He's not using those exact words, but when you know the story behind the song. So yeah, when I'm at the gym, man, it really depends. When I'm at the gym, if I'm going for, I power lift. So if I'm going for like a super big heavy lift, I might throw on, and I have some go-tos. West Side Connection. I have a handful of West Side Connection. I'll throw on Bone Crusher, Never Scared.
Nice.
Is one of my go-to heavy lifting songs. If I'm going cardio, like lighter stuff, I might throw on country.
Okay.
And I don't know why. It's something a little.
You're running on the plains, man. It's just all flatlands.
I don't know if you have that same feel. I don't know. It just it kind of completes my. I also have a problem concentrating and getting stuff done at the house. So when I have chores and stuff to do, I have to be it's either podcast or music, and it keeps me focused. I can't stay on track.
If I'm just doing chores and whatnot, I just go with whatever podcast is fresh on the Spotify app. But like before we do a recording here, like I won't listen to like Motorhead or Guns N' Roses because you don't need me throwing on war paint headbutting bitches letting their dog shit on my fucking lawn. Like we need to bring the energy up, but we need to make it fun. So like we're listening to like Dua Lipa and Taylor Swift, which is wildly out of my demographic 3 years ago, but now is a thing in the pandemic. I was like, yeah, of course I'm listening to these ladies, but it's not my go-to anymore. Like when I had my iPod, that thing was always going off, and now iPods aren't so much a thing anymore. And I'm honestly surprised the shit is still working. I know people whose iPods have died in like 3 years. I'm like, I mean, I listen to my thing a lot. How is yours dead now? What the hell?
I found my old iPod in a box of stuff a few years ago, and I was on cloud 9 for like 3 weeks because I was so excited to have. I think I have on my computer, I have like 25,000 songs. I'm still a weird, like,
oh, Jesus. Wow.
My buddy tells me, my buddy tells me, he's like, dude, just get Spotify. You can put everything on there. I don't know. I like having my music. And so I was like, oh, I found my iPod. Now I have all of my music again. And then it died. They're like locked up.
I've been in positions where the iPod all of a sudden freezes, and like I didn't want to listen to this song at this moment. Let's go to the next. Oh, it's not letting me go to the next one. And then the song finishes out, and then it just dies. If you're lucky, the Apple logo will show up. Otherwise, it's just the tile of that previous album that you didn't want to listen to, and then you're just like, oh, I guess we just gotta let the battery die. And then it does, and I plug it back in, and I charge it up. You can't charge it up before it dies, FYI. iPod folks, you gotta let the battery die, and then you charge it up, and then it's back to normal. But yeah, it's Spotify, I'm enjoying more than Pandora. I'm enjoying more than Stitcher. But Spotify is still doing the bullshit where like, I want to hear this one specific song. It was like, here are 3 songs that sound like it, but before 7 commercials. Like, no, no, I just wanted to hear this one song. Now, here's a Spotify hack here's a life hack for the Spotify kids. If you favorite that song, then you're more likely to hear it immediately, but not always.
All right.
But more times than not, but not always.
Or you can pay Spotify and pick your songs. I guess. I don't know how it works.
You know what? I bet I've been Xing out of that advertisement for the last 3 years. Okay. Sometimes it's a month free, sometimes it's 3 months free. But I'm just like, I bet if I still subscribe to that shit, they would be like, here's 4 songs that sound like what you wanted to listen to. And I'm like, no, oh God damn it. Like, there's nothing that beats actually owning the track.
Right. Here's a fun game for listeners. If you want to you're talking about like getting in a good mood before your show. I do it because I have like such a massive library of all different music. But like, you just go on and I do this game with my wife when we're driving. Is I'll set a rule where you can't change the song.
Oh,
and I'll put it on 90s or like 2000 pop.
Okay.
And you get what you get. Good. And you don't get to change the song. I used to do it when I drove trucks, did all around the Bay Area, did appliance installation. I'd have a buddy we drive with, and I would make that rule that on certain days where I can't change the track, and it would be you get In Sync would come on, and he's like, dude, I'm not listening to this. I'm like, it's the rule. You can't. I'm driving. I make the rule. we're not changing the song.
Sucks to be you, dude. Yeah. So I had a similar game. So I have my original iPod. It's the only iPod I own at this moment. And I'm at a Raider game, Christmas Eve. It's a fucking tsunami, and enough water is soaked into my iPod. They're like, we're done, babe. This is the last you'll ever see of me. By the way, she survived, and I couldn't be happier. But as that was happening, I was like, well, I guess better find a new iPod. And went on eBay, found a cheap one for like $45, filled with music already. I was like, cool. I'm probably going to delete all of it, but cool. Like, it's even got like Death Race remake on it. I'm like, I even like the movie. Like,
yeah. That's awesome.
So I want to say it's Spotify, but it may have been another music platform that was actually allowing you to download the music. But the way it was downloaded, it's just all characters. It's just consonants and vowels and not real words and numbers. And there's an entire folder, 140 plus songs with just gibberish labeling the tracks. So a game we would have is like, let's play the song. Let's hook up. What is it? Not.
Oh, Shazam.
Shazam. Thank you. Look what you've done to me, DC. You've made me forget a whole app. So yeah, you listen to this Shazam app, and so you just start picking it. And you're like, oh wow, like because I've heard this song, but because radio is how it is, I've never known who did this. Like, oh shit, now I own a dozen Lady Gaga tracks. Weird. So we can't talk about Nine Realms Athletics, and we can't talk about Balance and Manifest, the podcast series. That is, a nice self-help exercise for everybody involved. Is there anything you want to promote tonight?
Would love to. Nine Realms Athletics will be coming back in 2023. We did have to take a little break with my work stuff, but that will be coming back. We have some things that we want to do with it that are rather big. So hopefully that will manifest and happen this year. So we're trying to make that happen and do some things. But I would love to once I can get some stuff locked in, I'd love to come back and share it with people.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Folks, I do some stuff around here. Y'all know about the Microdose. You listen to it right now. We have a series called the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast. The entire catalog of 2 years can be found here on the BosNet.Family, as well as the existing series of Sweet Science Cinema. I wish we could have finished that properly, but life got in the way. Still hoping to get Creed 3 in the books, but we'll see how that goes. That's on a TBD notice. Otherwise, you can check out what we do with the original Mike Fish, and that's the original Waffle Box. You accept no substitutes because it is the best part of Wednesdays, and you can find the archives of that here on the BosNet.Family, as well as on the YouTubes under Waffle Box Pod. So, for Sean Thompson, I've been Kush Hayes. You've been you.
Microdose, 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 yeah, microdose.
From the BosNet family.
I thought we were past the possessed woman crawling up and down the walls like a spider thing.
Never get over that.